In this world, everybody wants to rise. Everybody wants the spotlight, the success, the money, the fame. But the real question is, what are you willing to lose to get it? I've seen people gain the world and lose themselves in the process. But let me tell you something. Rising without your soul ain't rising at all. I've made mistakes. I've been tested. I've been pulled in every direction by fame, by pressure, by temptation. But I held on to my faith, held on to my family, held on to who I was before the world knew my name. You don't have to sell your soul to succeed. You can rise with purpose. You can climb and still keep your character. And I'm here to tell you how, not from theory, but from experience. So listen close, because your soul, that's the real success story. Success without integrity is failure in disguise. I've learned that through experience, not just as an actor, but as a man walking through life with his eyes wide open. People see the lights, the red carpets, the awards, they see the finished product, but they don't see what it takes to stay grounded when the world tries to lift you up for the wrong reasons. I've been blessed with opportunities, with a career that has spanned decades. But the truth is, every step of the way I had to make a decision to rise, or to rise with my soul intact, because there's a big difference. There were moments when the spotlight was so bright, I could barely see the road ahead. People whispering in my ear, telling me who I should be, what I should say, how I should move to fit their image of success. But I remembered what my mother told me, what my father stood for. I remembered the prayers, the quiet moments alone, when I asked God not for fame, but for purpose. You see, purpose doesn't come with applause. It comes with responsibility. And I had to ask myself, what kind of man do you want to be when no one's watching? That's the real measure. I've seen folks climb the ladder so fast, chasing the top, but they leave their morals behind on every rung. They trade humility for ego, kindness for control, faith for fame. And when they get to the top, they realize it's hollow, because it wasn't built on anything solid. That's not a rise. That's a fall disguised as elevation. It's easy to become successful in the world's eyes. What's hard is remaining yourself in the process. That's what I've fought for every single day. There were roles I turned down because they didn't align with what I believe in. Money on the table, opportunities people would kill for, but I said no, because I knew what I stood for. I wasn't going to be a part of something that made me question my values. The funny thing is, people will call you crazy for choosing integrity. They'll say you're difficult or old-fashioned. But what they don't understand is that your soul is the most valuable thing you have. Once you lose that, there's no award, no paycheck, no success that can fill that void. I kept my circle tight. I surrounded myself with people who reminded me of who I am, not what I have. My wife, my family, my faith, that's my foundation. When things got noisy, they brought me back to center, because the world will try to convince you that your worth is measured by how many followers you have, how many headlines you make. But your worth was already written long before you got here. You just have to remember it. The industry I'm in, it will test you. It'll push you to your limits. It'll offer you everything you thought you wanted. But at what cost? I had to learn that it's okay to slow down, to say no, to walk away. Every time I did, something better came. Not always bigger, not always flashier, but better for my spirit. That's how you rise without losing your soul, by trusting that peace is more important than popularity, that inner fulfillment is more valuable than outer validation. And listen, I'm still learning, still growing, still praying. But if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this: who you become on the way up matters more than how fast you get there. I didn't want to just be known as a great actor. I wanted to be remembered as a man of integrity, a man who didn't compromise his soul to sit at anyone's table. Because the moment you have to yourself behind to succeed, that's the moment you've already failed. And I wasn't put here to fail. Neither were you. You want to rise. Then rise with intention. Rise with honor. Rise with your soul leading the way. Because success built on truth lasts. Success built on lies crumbles. And when the lights fade and the crowd stops clapping, it's your soul that'll be left echoing in the silence. Make sure it's still whole. Fame is a strange thing. When it first knocks on your door, it feels like a reward. Like everything you dreamed of is finally within reach. The lights, the red carpets, the applause, the recognition, it's intoxicating. But what nobody tells you is that fame is like the wind. It changes direction without warning. One day, they're calling your name. The next, they've moved on. And if you're not grounded in something real, something unshakable, you'll start to believe the noise. You'll start to confuse popularity with purpose, attention with affection, applause with approval. But I've learned, sometimes the hard way, that none of it lasts. The cameras stop flashing. The scripts stop coming. The people who once cheered for you, they don't even remember what role you played. That's when you find out who you really are. That's when character steps in. When I first came into this industry, I was hungry, like any young actor. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to be great. But even then, deep down, I knew I couldn't let the business change who I was at the core. I remember walking into rooms where they tried to shape me, tried to define me, tried to tell me who I should be. They told me to tone down, to fit in, to play the game. But I couldn't do that. Not because I thought I was better, but because I was raised different. I was raised to look a man in the eye, to speak truth, to walk with humility. My mother, she used to say, just because you're in Hollywood doesn't mean you forget where you came from. And she was right. Because the world can make you forget. The world can make you act. And I don't mean on screen. I mean off screen. It can make you pretend to be something you're not, just to stay relevant, just to get another role, just to stay on top. But what I've realized is that character, that quiet, consistent force inside you, that's what really lasts. That's what people remember. Not the awards, not the movies, but how you made them feel, how you showed up, who you were when nobody was watching. I've been in rooms where the most powerful man had no peace, and I've seen people with nothing but faith and integrity carry themselves like royalty, because that's the thing about character. It doesn't need an audience. It's who you are in the dark. It's who you are when it costs you something. There were roles I turned down, opportunities I let go of, not because I wasn't interested, but because they didn't align with my values. Because I didn't want to be known for just anything. I wanted to be remembered for something that mattered. Fame can't teach you how to love. It can't teach you how to be a good father, a faithful husband, a real friend. It can't teach you how to pray when you're broken or how to stand tall when the world crumbles. That's what character does. That's what you build in silence, in struggle, in stillness. And every time I thought about chasing something that didn't sit right with my spirit, I reminded myself, I don't want to succeed at the expense of my soul. That's not winning. That's losing in disguise. The industry doesn't define me. The critics don't define me. The box office doesn't define me. God defines me. My family defines me. My character defines me. I've had people praise me and I've had people criticize me. I've had movies flop and movies break records. But none of that shook me because I know who I am. And when you know who you are, the world can't shake you. When your foundation is strong, the storms don't scare you. That's why I tell young actors, young dreamers, anybody trying to climb in this life, don't chase fame, chase purpose, chase excellence, chase truth, because fame is fleeting, character is forever. And if you rise with your soul intact, with your heart clean, with your integrity whole, you've already won, no matter who's watching. I grew up in a home where prayer wasn't just something we did on Sundays. It was part of the rhythm of life. My mother, she prayed over me every morning. And my father, a preacher, he made sure I understood the value of discipline, respect, and keeping my feet on the ground no matter how high I went. Those roots, those deep spiritual roots, they kept me centered. They reminded me that there was always something bigger than the moment, something more meaningful than applause, money, or even opportunity. Because when you're rising, when things start coming together, when doors start opening, and when your name starts circulating, it's easy to think it's all about you. But it's not. And I learned that early. Hollywood will tell you otherwise. The business, the world, it's loud. It tells you to be louder, to shine brighter, to grab more. It tells you to fight for your spot, to protect your image, to chase relevance like it's your lifeline. But you know what I learned? Without something deeper holding you down, something spiritual, something personal, something eternal, you'll drift. You'll get swept up in the noise. And eventually, you'll lose yourself in it. I saw it all around me. I saw brothers and sisters rise faster than me, shine brighter than me, but they had no anchor. And when the storms came, and they always do, they couldn't hold on. They broke, and some didn't come back. That's why I never walked to a movie set thinking I got there by myself. Every role, every award, every moment I've had, I walk in with gratitude. I walk in with humility. Because I know who got me there, and I never forgot where I came from. That's what kept me grounded when people tried to define me by characters I played, when critics wrote their opinions, when fans praised one day and disappeared the next. You see, applause is temporary. Spotlight fades. But when you're rooted in something deeper, when you wake up and talk to God before you talk to the world, your spirit doesn't shake just because the world is shaking. I remember years ago when I was just getting started, there was a moment when I could have chosen the fast path. A role came across my desk. Big money, big exposure. But something in my spirit said no. It wasn't aligned with who I was, with what I believed. And I said no. A lot of folks thought I was crazy. But I wasn't about to sell my soul to prove my talent. That wasn't me. I wanted to build a career I could be proud of, not just because of what I achieved, but because of how I achieved it. And I believe that decision, though it cost me in the short term, set me on a path that gave me longevity, respect, peace. Because that's what it comes down to, peace. When your head hits the pillow at night, are you at peace with yourself, with how you treated people, with the choices you made, with who you became? That peace doesn't come from success. It comes from spiritual alignment. And I'm not just talking about religion. I'm talking about knowing why you're here, who you are, and what you stand for, and living by that, even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. There were seasons in my life that felt like nothing was working. I was trying, praying, auditioning, getting rejected, doubting myself, wondering if I'd missed my calling. But I kept going, not because I was strong, but because I had something stronger in me. And every time I wanted to quit, I heard my mother's prayers. I remembered my father's words. I felt the presence of something greater. And that presence told me, keep going. Keep your integrity. Keep your soul. Your time will come. And when it did, when I started rising, I didn't let the elevation change my foundation. I stayed rooted. I still pray. I still give thanks. I still ask for guidance. Because no matter how far I've come, I know I didn't get here alone. And I know I'm not above falling. None of us. That's why you have to stay connected to your source, to what's real, because fame can confuse you. Success can blind you. But your soul, if you protect it, can guide you. It can save you. And in the end, that's the only thing worth holding on to. Discipline is something people often misunderstand. It's not just about waking up early, grinding every day, or following a strict routine like a machine. No, it's deeper than that. Discipline, to me, is spiritual. It's about showing up for yourself when no one is watching. It's about honoring the gift God gave you. I didn't get here because I was the most talented. I got here because I kept showing up. I stayed ready. I respected the process. You see, dreams are beautiful, but they're nothing without the bridge to reality. And that bridge is built on discipline. One brick at a time. When I was younger, I had no idea what my future held. I made mistakes. I didn't always listen. I took detours. But when I committed, when I really decided to take my life seriously, I understood something powerful. You can't just want success. You have to be willing to earn it every single day. And that means doing things you don't feel like doing. That means saying no to distractions, staying in when others go out, and working when nobody's clapping for you. That's discipline. That's the grind people don't see. I remember auditioning for roles and getting turned down. I remember being broke and wondering if I was even good enough. And in those moments, I could have quit. I could have blamed the system, the odds, the world. But I chose to trust the process. I chose to be disciplined. I studied. I prayed. I humbled myself. I treated every small opportunity like it was a big one because I knew God was watching, even if the world wasn't. You see, discipline is what keeps you going when the excitement fades, when the applause dies down, when nobody's returning your calls. Everyone is motivated in the beginning. Everybody's hyped when the vision is fresh. But discipline, that's what shows up after motivation is gone. That's what builds legacy. That's what turns a nobody into a somebody. I didn't just dream of being an actor. I worked for it. I bled for it. I studied the greats. I rehearsed when I was tired. I read when others slept. And I still do. Because no matter how far I've come, I never forget success is rented. And the rent is due every day. People often ask me, Denzel, how do you stay focused with all the noise, the fame, the distractions? And I tell them, I don't serve the industry. I serve the gift. I serve the one who gave me the gift. That's discipline. Staying aligned with your purpose, even when it's not convenient. Even when you're tempted to coast. Even when the world tells you to take it easy. Discipline is saying, no, I can do better. I must do better. Because you owe it to yourself, to your family, and to your calling. There were nights I cried, times I felt lost, but I still got up in the morning and did the work. And let me tell you, that work builds something inside that success alone never could. Discipline builds character. Discipline builds grit. Discipline teaches you patience. When you learn to delay gratification, when you learn to be consistent without validation, you become unstoppable. Because now, you're not working for applause. You're working for purpose. You've got dreams. That's good. But ask yourself, do you have the discipline to match? Can you sacrifice comfort for greatness? Can you stay committed when nobody believes in you? That's what rising without losing your soul looks like. It's not flashy. It's not always fun. But it's real. And it lasts. Anybody can flash for a moment. But the disciplined ones, they shine forever. So I'll leave you with this. Don't just chase the dream. Build the habits that support the dream. Be consistent when it's boring. Show up when you're tired. Keep your promise to yourself. Because your discipline is the proof of your belief. It's how you tell the world and yourself, I'm serious about my calling. And if you stay disciplined, trust me, you will rise. And you'll do it with your soul still intact. I've always believed that success isn't just about what you accomplish. It's about who you help along the way. People see the lights, the red carpets, the awards. They see the movies, the speeches, the applause. But what they don't always see are the people who helped you get there. The ones who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. The ones who opened a door, gave you a word of encouragement, or pulled you back when you were drifting. I never forgot those people. And I promised myself early on, if I ever had the chance, I'd reach back. I'd lift someone else up, because that's what it's all about. Giving back as you climb. See, I didn't come from Hollywood. I didn't come from fame. I came from Mount Vernon, New York. My mother ran a beauty salon. My father was a preacher. I grew up with structure, with discipline, with God. I saw struggle. I saw sacrifice. And I saw love. Real love. The kind that doesn't ask for anything in return. And that love, it taught me something. It taught me that no matter how far I go, I am still connected to where I came from. I am still responsible for the people who helped raise me, shape me, correct me. That responsibility doesn't go away when the cameras turn on. If anything, it grows. When I was coming up, I didn't know this path would open. I didn't know that acting would be the vehicle. But I knew I wanted to make a difference. I knew I had something in me, something that needed to be expressed. And as I grew, as I started getting roles, I realized that this platform wasn't just for me. It was for something bigger, a purpose, a calling. God didn't put me here just so I could collect awards. He put me here to be an example, to be a servant, to be a vessel. That's why I mentor. That's why I speak. That's why I show up. Not because I have to. Not because I'm trying to impress anyone, but because I remember what it's like to be that young man looking for direction, looking for hope. And I know a single word, a single gesture can change a life. I've lived it. Someone believed in me, and it set a fire in me that hasn't gone out since. You see, the higher you go, the more people look to you, not just for entertainment, but for inspiration, for leadership, for truth. And I don't take that lightly, because when the camera shut off and the room goes quiet, all that's left is who you are. What kind of man are you? What kind of legacy are you building? For me, legacy isn't about statues or stars. It's about people. It's about the lives you touch, the hearts you lift, the souls you remind they still have a purpose. I've worked with young actors. I've spoken to students. I've visited prisons. I've funded programs because it makes headlines, but because it makes a difference. And that difference matters. Every time I see someone rise and keep their integrity, I see the future getting brighter. I see the power of example, the power of giving. I tell young people all the time, if you're climbing, don't close the ladder behind you. Leave it down. Reach back. Share what you've learned. Don't hoard wisdom. Don't protect your success like a secret. Success is abundant. There's enough for everyone. And when you lift others, you lift yourself. You strengthen your foundation. You surround yourself with light. There's a quote I love. Service is the rent we pay for living on this earth. That's how I live. That's what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me whole. I may play kings and heroes on screen, but in real life, I'm just a man trying to do right by the blessings I've received. And the greatest way I know to honor those blessings is to be a blessing to someone else. So rise with ambition, rise with fire, but don't forget your soul, and don't forget the ones who need to leave a light on. Give back as you climb. That's where the real success lies. That's how you rise with purpose. That's how you rise without losing your soul.